Ireland, and these showers are going to become a bit more widespread across Scotland and Northern Ireland as we go through the day. But there should be some sunny spells in between these showers and away from eastern parts of England and Scotland, where it is still going to be pretty wet. Other parts of England and Wales having a decent amount of sunshine, and although temperatures won't be anywhere near as high as they have been to start the week, it is still going to feel pretty warm in that sunshine. As we go into Thursday, it's a dry picture for much of England and Wales, but cloud and rain with some blustery winds coming in from the northwest, affecting parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. That unsettled weather is going to eventually feed its way southeastwards, but it's going to take until the weekend for many central and southern parts to actually see much of that rain. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash, so make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight,
cuts belong to a different era and a different party.
It is with a heavy, broken heart that I will be voting against this bill today.
a disaster for Sir Keir Starmer, huge U-turn on welfare and benefits. Who's going to be paying for it? And exclusive, I reveal that illegal migrant smugglers are posting ISIS jihadi videos as...
Breaking news, and GB News can reveal that over 20,000 small boat migrants have arrived so far this year. That's a 50% higher than at the same point last year.
Great, so are we importing terrorists? Also...
This is the kitchen where they make your food.
This is where they make your food, big boy burgers.
Time to ban takeaway apps like Deliveroo until they stop employing illegal migrants. And
hello, Lucy, is it?
Yes.
Hello, my name's Chester, please. Look, it's step in 2 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
3 of Lucy Letby's hospital bosses have been arrested for alleged gross negligence manslaughter. What does it mean for her? Plus,
You want your country back? You can't have that. You want your country back?
so BBC boss Tim Davie was at Glastonbury and knew that Bob Vylan was saying filth like that, but decided not to pull the programme. So, should he resign? And
I'd like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the unceded territory of the Algonquin and the Shinabeg people.
King Charles changes his job description to allow him to be an eco-warrior. Should he really be doing that? And what's going on here? On my panel tonight, we've got GB News presenter Alex Armstrong, columnist and broadcaster Esther Krakow, and journalist Jonathan Liss. And can anyone tell me what this is? And for all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, as well as any breaking news from Britain and around the world, tune in to Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition, 11 p.m. until midnight. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Welcome, everybody, to Sir Keir Starmer's Benefits Britain. Next.
Hi there, very good evening to you. Let's get up to date with the headlines. The Prime Minister has won a key vote on his controversial welfare reforms, despite suffering a large rebellion.
The ayes for the right, 335. The noes for the left, 260. So the ayes have it, unlock.
MPs passed the welfare bill by a majority of 75 at its second reading, but only after offering further concessions to Labour rebels. Any changes to eligibility for personal independence payments will now be delayed until after a review in November next year. 49 of Sir Keir Starmer's own MPs still voted against it. Today's concession follows a previous U-turn last week, in which the Prime Minister softened the original package. But the Work and Pensions Secretary Liz Kendall insists his authority has not been damaged.
I think people are 100% behind a Prime Minister
They're not, though, are they?
The first Labour government in 14 years. They know they
They've humiliated him over and over again.
They were elected on a mandate for change. There are definitely lessons to learn from this process. I certainly will do that, and I'm sure my colleagues will too.
What's the key lesson to learn?
We have agreed on the principles of reform here. We need to make changes to the system, and tonight's vote begins to make a start.
It's estimated the concessions on welfare could cost the government around £5.5 billion. A Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary, Helen Whately, says the Prime Minister's authority has been undermined.
Number 10 has lost control of their backbenchers, has lost control of the whole of government. Governments have to be able to make difficult decisions. It's impossible to see how Keir Starmer will be able to make any difficult decisions in the years ahead. He cannot control his party. And actually, it was his fault and Rachel Reeves' fault. They got themselves into this position. They brought forward really bad legislation, really inadequate, insufficient savings as well. And they didn't listen to their backbenchers, and they didn't listen to us either. And they have brought this on themselves.
Republicans in the US Senate have passed Donald Trump's bill on tax and spending. Vice President J.D. Vance was in the chamber to cast a tie-breaking vote. It means the US president's proposed legislation has cleared one of its key hurdles. Donald Trump has been at the highly controversial new migrant detention facility in Florida, dubbed Alligator Alcatraz. He says the Senate's passing of the tax and spending bill is music to his ears, but it will now head back to the lower house, where it still faces more opposition. A 7-year-old girl who died after a tree collapse at a park in Essex has been named as Leona Ruka from Dagenham. Emergency services were called to Chalkwell Park on Saturday. Several children were trapped and one remains in a critical condition. Leona's family have described her as the light in their lives. Finally, the King's been presented with the keys to the city of Edinburgh in a ceremony marking the start of his official stay in Scotland. Charles attended the ceremony of the keys in the Palace of Holyrood House. That's his official residence in the Scottish capital. Each year he spends, around a week based there for Holyrood Week, or Royal Week in Scotland. The King presented with the keys by the Lord Provost of Edinburgh. Those are your headlines. More from me in an hour's time.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome to Sir Keir Starmer's Benefits Britain. The Prime Minister has the backbone of a jellyfish. He's caved in and completely bottled the welfare bill. Get a load of this. So, there are roughly 9.9 million people of working age claiming benefits in Britain. 22% of the working age population are on benefits. 6.4 million people were on universal credit as of January 2024. You can claim benefits for acne, writer's cramp and factitious disorders, which are, you ready for this, symptoms you're making up. 1 in 5 new cars sold are for the Motability Scheme, where people who say they're disabled need the car to get around, and this includes brand new BMWs. If one costs you £52,000 new, you can get that with an £8,000 down payment if you're on the sick. The total bill for working age sickness benefits is now in the region of £48 billion a year, and it's set to reach 67 billion quid by the end of the decade. Each month, 80,000 new applications are lodged for PIP, and there are roughly 1.2 million more people claiming disability or incapacity benefits than there were in 2019. So, we are going broke, aren't we? Paying for all of these people. Sir Keir Starmer was apparently going to change this. He wanted to reduce those PIP payments, personal independence payments, and universal credit. Well, what happened? A load of hard-left MPs realised that, shock horror, loads of the people who voted for them in their constituencies live on benefits. So they threatened to rebel. They kicked off in the Commons today.
That any Labour MP who votes for this bill tonight or sits in their hands, I think that vote will hang like an albatross around their necks.
These Dickensian cuts belong to a different era and a different party.
We are not just voting fodder. There is talent, knowledge and expertise in this House which government would do well to harness.
So it is with a heavy, broken heart that I will be voting against this bill today.
All right, so that was in the Commons earlier. What happens? Sir Keir Starmer U-turns, doesn't he? He drops his plans, no real changes to the benefit system, which led to this utter farce.
This is crazy, man. This is outrageous, man. This bill isn't fit for purpose. If you have a look, it's 16 pages. I can ask a right honourable gentleman to rip the ones out now that's changed. There would only be 2 pages left. Withdraw the bill.
Absolute farce, isn't it? Because of this, Rachel Reeves is now going to have to find around 5 billion quid in the budget. Where's that going to come from? So she's thinking about cutting your cash ISA tax-free allowance from 20k to about £5,000, apparently. With poetic timing, this was released just moments before I came on air. The UK faces the largest single-year departure of wealth ever recorded. 16,500 high net worth individuals are leaving. So who is going to pay for all of these benefits? It's you, isn't it? It's you and everyone you know. Labour is not the party of the working people. They are now the party of the feckless, lazy and the work-shy. And they're going to make working people pay for it. Well, we can go now to our political editor, Christopher Hope, who is in Parliament and has been following all of this vote for us this evening. Christopher, how bad is this for the Prime Minister?
Patrick, very, very bad. Looking at some of the Labour quotes doing the rounds, it's called a cluster blank word of Godzilla proportions, is what one Labour MP said to reporters. It is a complete disaster for this government. The week when it should be celebrating, marking this, the achievements, as Sir Keir Starmer told his cabinet earlier today. Instead, they are literally licking their wounds. I've been wandering around Parliament in the past hour trying to work out what Labour MPs are thinking. They're all gathered in groups, looking like they've been hit by some kind of explosion. Something's happened. They're like the war wounded from a battle. How do they get to this stage? A week ago, they had cuts planned of £5 billion from the welfare budget. Today, it's almost all gone. We don't know what it will be. They removed this PIP element, this personal independent payment element, and we're not sure what's going to replace it. They're waiting for a review by Stephen Timms, who's the welfare minister. That report's next September, nothing this year. And this was brought in, of course, because of slow growth, sluggish growth, maybe caused by some of the choices made by the government, maybe caused by the increase in national insurance for employers and lifting that minimum wage for those on lower incomes. That has squeezed some and damaged confidence in the government's plans for jobs. That could be caused by it, but trying to raise £5 billion this way has completely reversed on the government. It's a huge issue. I think that this will go for days and days now, and this government is reeling. On social media, someone said to me that the PM is now PNO. That means Prime Minister in name only. I think that's going a bit far, probably, because he's doing pretty well on the world stage, but in terms of the nuts and bolts of politics, here in historic Westminster Hall, the PM is failing.
Well, what's the main fear here, though, Christopher? Is it that we're all going to have to pay more taxes to fund this? I mean, the welfare state, and I outlined some figures earlier on, I mean, it can't really go on like this, OK, the sheer scale of it. So are we going to end up having to probably pay more tax?
Everyone agrees that the welfare budget has to be curbed. It's going to £100 billion by the end of the decade. That's more than the defence budget. That's people who are in work paying those who aren't in work not to work. It's patently ridiculous. The figures you quoted there show that it's exploded since 2019. Some of that is due to COVID. Some would say, why isn't the DWP doing in-person interviews? Why do it over the phone when it's easy for claimants to game the system? But there are ways to deal with this. But maybe writing this cheque for £5 billion on the back of the poorest wasn't a way to do it. Just finally there, Patrick, you ask how we're going to pay for it. Could be through benefit, but could be through taxation, could be through more borrowing. What the figure to look at is £9 billion of headroom the government had. That was money for a rainy day fund. That's now gone to the tune of around £6 billion. So any further downturn in the economy means we are probably looking at tax rate increases or increased borrowing the autumn budget. All right, Christopher, thank you very, very much. Christopher Hope, our political editor there in the corridors of power. Let's get the thoughts of my panel this evening. We are joined by GB News presenter Alex Armstrong. We have broadcaster and columnist Esther Krakow and journalist Jonathan Les. Alex, I'll start with you. Well, two major issues at play here. The first one, is Keir Starmer fatally wounded, do you think?
Yeah, well, he's clearly finished, isn't he? There's no Prime Minister in their first year who would be facing such a huge defeat. And let's not forget, they claim this was the party of working people. I mean, the irony of it. And they're voting for a policy that is going to consistently bankrupt working people in this country. Taxes are going to go through the roof, despite, again, being promised that they weren't. You know, I just cannot see how the man clings on. He's had to bend over backwards to a bunch of rebellious MPs. He has a massive majority, and we're talking about the dying days of the Conservative Party of 14 years on. He's just about to reach, not even, but just about to reach his first year.
Yeah, and so when you look at some of the things I rattled off there, which is that you can get benefits for acne, you get benefits for writer's cramp, you can get benefits for conditions that you've made up, that the NHS diagnose you, things like Munchausen syndrome, right? You can get benefits for stuff like that. You can get a brand spanking new BMW if you're on the sick, okay? And Keir Starmer and the Labour Party have today doubled down on that.
Keir Starmer is as unimpressive as they come, but I do not lay the blame of this at his feet. This is a man who's trying to rectify a system that was really broken under the Tories. Once you open the floodgates, it's incredibly hard to stop it. The problem here isn't necessarily Keir Starmer. It's, one, his choice of cabinet ministers, which is woeful, and I've gone on at length about how bad they are, but also the fact that the Labour Party at its core has lost its way. The Labour Party of 50 years ago, if you told them that people were claiming benefits for obesity and for alcohol problems that they've caused themselves, would reel in horror, right? When you have a party that doesn't have any sort of moral compass, any sort of guiding light, any sort of, philosophy that's rooted in actually working people of this country, what else do you expect? Do you expect these MPs to vote for their seats to basically evaporate into thin air when many of their constituents are like, well, why should we give up our benefits? You're the one that let it happen in the first place. So this is not entirely Keir Starmer's fault. No, it's the fact that he's got a load of backbench MPs who've got a load of constituents who are on full-time benefits and they know which side their bread's buttered. But, Jonathan, on this now, I mean, where do we go from here, seriously? This is good. People's taxes are going to go up because of this. People who actually go out, work hard, earn a living, who want to put £20,000 a year in a cash ISA or who are a high net worth individual, they're going to be clobbered.
Well, Patrick, I mean, the kind of stuff you're coming out with, we've heard repeatedly in British politics the last 50 years. It wouldn't have been out of place in a Margaret Thatcher speech about we want the workers and not the shirkers and all this stuff. And it's as false now as it was then. It's an attempt to divide people against each other. Do you dispute the figures that 16,500 high net worth individuals are going to leave this year, the highest ever on record? Do you dispute that? I'm more interested in the fact that under Labour's proposed benefit cuts, there'd be an extra 150,000 put into poverty. And that is why so many Labour MPs were outraged, because Labour is not a party that should be impoverishing people. That's always been the Conservatives' job. So Labour is just a party that bankrupts the middle class, then, isn't it? No, these are zero-sum configurations that you're speaking about. There is no rule that says if you help people who are disabled, a lot of whom are working, by the way, you bankrupt anyone else. That's not how. It's not a credit card. It's an economy with its own central bank. It's not a household. Well, they're not all disabled, though, are they? Yeah, well, this is the problem, isn't it? Most of them are. Patrick listed a litany of things there where people could claim absolutely ridiculous things. And you're right. We should be helping people who are disabled, and we should be looking after those people in this country. That's what the whole point of having a welfare state was in the first place. However, when it's being abused, the people that are going to suffer are those people who actually are disabled, because they're going to get a next government come in with a lot of austerity needed, and they're going to be the ones that suffer because Keir Starmer can't actually have a backbone. Austerity is always a choice, Alex.
Hold on, it's not even just that. So if you speak to a lot of people who are disabled, genuinely disabled, I'm not talking about young people that have just come out of university and have anxiety and need payments, for example, of which that is a growing number, and that is a scandal. You talk to people who are genuinely disabled, who cannot, under any circumstances, work. They say they often push to the back of the queue because it's not just about the fact that you have more people claiming, it's also the administrative bloat. So you have all of these people that are choking up the system that really shouldn't be claiming. And so you have someone who's wheelchair-bound, for example, because of an accident they had at work, that actually cannot access these systems. It's not just about the fact that it's unjust to people who genuinely need it. We are letting down a whole generation. Most of the new claimants since the lockdown have been people under the age of 35 who are economically inactive, many of whom have not been in work or not been in long-term education for a very long time. Well, but this is the thing, you've created that loophole. Why should anyone, I'm sorry, be categorised in the same way as someone with a physical impairment for something like anxiety? Did you think not having a job would feel good?
So they were talking about changing the qualifications so that if you couldn't wash yourself below the waist, you might still...
But that's exactly... You're making my point. I'm someone who is physically impaired from moving, physically disabled, is not and should never be considered in the same category with someone who has anxiety.
But these proposals were trying to take benefits away from those people, and that is why, because of the Labour backbenchers, revolting.
And because Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer have bankrupted the country. They need to save so much money. We've got the double. We've thought there was a black hole before. It must be a supermassive black hole by now. They've gone from the party of working people to the party of non-working people.
No. Look, any civilised society needs to help people who are vulnerable, who are disabled.
We're not disputing that fact.
Right, so the argument is about where you draw a line, and I agree, and I've said before, that there obviously is a problem with worklessness in this country, and I don't think that we should automatically not look at the welfare bill. I think that there are ways of looking at it. This is not the right way, and so this is it was not a moral way of going about it, and it wasn't a politically astute way of going about it.
The fact is, we have a Prime Minister who almost exactly a year ago won a stonking majority. And what did he run that campaign on? Change. Change, change, change. And actually, as it turns out, there's a load of hard left MPs sitting behind him who won't let him change, and he hasn't got the bottle to do it. He hasn't got the bottle to do it. If you took an X-ray of Sir Keir Starmer now, there wouldn't be a spine. He absolutely would not be a spine. Where's his ideology? Where's his vision? Welfare reforms. We all know we need welfare reforms. Every single Tom, Dick and Harry out there knows that we're paying too much in welfare for people.
But people like Patrick, when they were talking about when they talked about sort of, welfare for pensioners, you literally sort of went on fundraisers to stop it.
Yes,
because you believe in welfare for some people, but not other people.
Yeah, for people who can't go out and still get another job.
But this is we're talking about people who are disabled who need benefits.
I know what I'm talking about is the people who are absolutely taking the mick and rinsing this country dry.
And there are some very rich pensioners who are taking the benefit that went to fuel campaigns as well.
For sure. But what we care about here, and Patrick said it again, is that we agree with you. We want people who really need welfare to get welfare, but there are so many now, thousands, probably even close to 1 million people that don't need it at all, that can work and can actually contribute to the economy and pay for people that are out of work. My grandmother had MS and she couldn't move. She needed payments, and unfortunately she lost payments due to the government having to cut back on
the problem is now
excessive spending in this country because of useless rubbish.
The problem is now, and this is going to be a problem for Sir Keir Starmer, and we'll probably return to this because I imagine it'll be all over the front pages later on, but the problem for him now is that every single one of his MPs knows that if they just press him hard enough, he'll U-turn on it.
Exactly.
He'll withdraw whatever it is, and that is a fundamental position of weakness for a bloke who's been in power with a stonky majority for less than a year.
I would approach it from the different perspective, which is the whole purpose of having a party system, a parliamentary system, is that your backbenchers can help improve legislation. If they think that you're on a bad approach, they can steer the agenda. They can
why would you want to be led by a man who keeps taking bad approaches?
But that's a separate issue. But I'm not unhappy about a Labour Party actually acting for working people and people who need help.
But they're not working, are they?
People who need help.
They're not working.
Well, a lot of them are working. A lot of disabled people actually do work, and they still get PIP.
All right. OK. Yeah, which is another problem. Anyway, whatever. Right. OK. Welcome. Yes, and I say this every time. Talking of giving away things for free. It's 54,321 quid, and it could be yours in the Great British Giveaway. Here's how.
The Great British Giveaway is now even greater, with your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far. A totally tax-free £54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Imagine what you could do with that. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash, so make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, good luck, everybody. So coming up, I have a major GB News exclusive for you. So I have obtained vile footage of a Channel Migrant people smuggler glorifying ISIS executions. But before that, the BBC boss, Tim Davie, is on the ropes tonight after it emerged that he was actually at Glastonbury. He knew about Bob Vylan's vile chant, but didn't order the performers to be removed from the live stream. So, does he need to go? That's next.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. Coming up, I take you inside an illegal migrant hotel that was until recently being used as a takeaway for Deliveroo. But first, should Tim Davie, the Director General of the BBC, resign? It's time now for our head-to-head. So, BBC boss Tim Davie is tonight fighting for his job after becoming embroiled in the row over Bob Vylan's death to the IDF chant at Glastonbury over the weekend. So, the Director General was visiting staff at the festival and was informed about the chant, but he made sure it wasn't available to watch on demand, but it did remain on the BBC iPlayer for a further 5 hours, despite his intervention. So the punk duo at the centre of the storm have remained defiant despite the police launching an investigation into their comments. In a statement posted on social media today, Bob Vylan said, "We are not for the death of Jews, Arabs or any other race or group of people. We are for the dismantling of a violent military machine, a machine whose own soldiers were told to use unnecessary lethal force against innocent civilians wanting for aid, a machine that has destroyed much of Gaza." Look, tonight I am asking, this is the latest in a long line of BBC failures when it comes to this stuff, isn't it? Should Tim Davie resign? Going head-to-head on this now are the Israeli journalist Emily Schrader and the talent manager, Jonathan Shalit. Thank you very much. Great to have you both on the show. Emily, I'll start with you. Should Tim Davie resign?
The short answer is yes. I think absolutely he should resign. And although this wasn't his crime, quote unquote, he is responsible. He does bear responsibility as a leader of the BBC. As you mentioned, there have been multiple other scandals, even related to this issue alone when it comes to the Israeli-Arab conflict. And so the fact that he knew about it in advance and he still opted to do nothing or intervene in the most minimal way possible while allowing it to stay on the BBC for 5 hours after he knew in advance and he still didn't do anything to stop it, it's really irresponsible. And it's irresponsible at a time when we see skyrocketing anti-Semitism, Jewish individuals being targeted in the streets, in the communities, including in the UK. There's just no excuse for it. And while he isn't the one who actually committed this act that was so inappropriate, he does bear responsibility as a leader, and so he should resign. Absolutely.
Well, Jonathan, I'll put this to you because actually over the weekend, and indeed yesterday, I, just walking out and about, I spoke to quite a few Jewish people, actually, who came up to me and said hello, and they were saying that they felt like leaving the UK, and it was in no small part to do with stuff like what we saw on the BBC. And ultimately, Tim Davie is in charge of that. I mean, surely he has to go.
Well, first of all, for the benefit of your viewers, I'm also Jewish.
Yeah.
I certainly don't feel like leaving the UK. I'm proud to be British. I live in the greatest country in the world, and Britain still has so many positive aspects. Do I feel comfortable being a Jew sometimes? Not always. Am I sometimes uncomfortable with some of the things the BBC have been broadcasting recently? The way they use the word, for example, prescribed terrorist organisation, like it's prescribed. It is a terrorist organisation, for example, Hamas, full stop. Do I think he should resign? The truth is, no, I don't think he should resign. Do I think the BBC are accountable for leaving that particular performance on the iPlayer too long? Yes, I do. Tim Davie was in the middle of a massive field, in the middle of 200,000 people. He acted as much as he could. He's the Director General of the BBC, which means he's sort of chairman of the board. He's not in control of what comes off the iPlayer quickly. I also think we can't make a final judgment as to the way the BBC have handled it yet, because it's only Tuesday and these things take time. It's interesting how many broadcasts have been completely hypocritical, because they've criticised the BBC broadcasting this, but they very quickly rebroadcast it themselves as the press keep on printing the word said. So it's almost like, let's use this as an excuse to keep the narrative going. Do I think there'll be some reprimand at the BBC? Yes. Should there be some reprimand at the BBC? Yes. Do I think the overall, essentially, chairman in layman's language, or albeit his title as Director General, should go? I don't think Tim Davie can be held responsible because the iPlayer kept it up for too long.
Well, sorry, OK, all right. I mean, Emily, I would politely suggest that at some point someone has to take responsibility, and you are paid mega money as the bloke who's in charge of the BBC. You get a huge amount of perks for that, but one of the downsides of it is you have to carry the can when it goes horribly wrong, and it went horribly wrong.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely understand, you know, what my counterpart here is saying, and I do understand that argument. But at the end of the day, it is an important message to send of accountability, of responsibility. When something like this happens, somebody does have to take the fall, and not just because he was irresponsible and knew about it in advance and, in my opinion, didn't do enough to stop it. But even more importantly, if this was said about a different group of people or a different minority group that's facing a lot of persecution, would he have been so hands-off about dealing with it right away? I mean, I don't know him. I don't know him personally, but based on what I know about the BBC and how they have dealt with issues like this, I don't hold out a lot of hope for that. And I think that this is also something that needs to be brought to the awareness of the public when it comes to these issues. This type of rhetoric, this type of speech, certainly at a music festival, which is ironically one of the sites that was targeted by Hamas terrorists on October 7th, there should be no place for that. And he should be the first person leading that charge as the leader. And actually, Jonathan, there was an incident outside a court yesterday, I believe, where people were outside there chanting that horrific chant that Bob Vylan put out as well. I suspect they got it from him, and they got it from him because they saw it on the BBC. And, the BBC stands accused of basically, you know, having something akin to a modern-day Nazi rally broadcast out there to the nation.
Well, I don't think some of what you're saying representing his fact is true. First of all, Tim Davie didn't know about it in advance. He couldn't have known about it in advance. No one knew about it in advance. And I think everyone was blindsided by what was said. And that rhetoric you reference has been said long before Glastonbury. And as we know, the police are investigating, and it may be criminal charges are brought against both the act and also Glastonbury for featuring the act. I think the BBC, someone at the BBC made an error of judgment allowing that to remain on screen for on the iPlayer for 5 hours. And I'm sure in days to come that will be addressed publicly. I think other aspects of the BBC, absolutely, there's been a lot of anger from the Jewish community about some of the way the BBC have handled aspects of what's gone on in the Middle East. And Emily, I absolutely agree with you. If someone is seeing death to black people, death to gay people, it'll be over, game over. Exactly. But for some reason, you can say well, it wasn't really. I mean, it's a difficult area because, of course, death to the IDF is actually factually not death to Jewish people. Clearly, some people are interpreting like that, and I understand that being Jewish. But the IDF is the army of a country. But
also an army of conscripts as well, to an extent as well. So there is a grey area. Well, I thank you very much, both of you. And Jonathan, by the way, as and when I do find myself embroiled in a monumental existential scandal, I would quite like you to be my agent at the time, because your ability to come and try and put this side up for people is remarkable. So thank you very much. Jonathan Shullett there, the talent manager, and also Israeli journalist Emily Schrader as well. Good head-to-head. Thank you so much. Speaking about the incident, a BBC spokesperson said, the team were dealing with a live situation, but with hindsight, we should have pulled the stream during the performance. We regret this did not happen. In light of this weekend, we will look at our guidance around live events so we can be sure that teams are clear on when it's acceptable to keep output on air. OK, just ask yourselves this. What would have happened if GB News had done that? Anyway, coming up, a massive GB News exclusive. I have got footage of a Channel migrant people smuggler glorifying ISIS executions as he also sends people across the Channel. How many terrorists have we had come across the Channel, do you think? But before that...
This is the kitchen where they make your food. This is where they make your food, big boy burgers.
I'm going to take you inside a migrant hotel that is now being used as a delivery takeaway service. Don't go anywhere.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The heatwave continues across western and central parts of continental Europe, temperatures widely reaching the mid-30s, and this is likely to trigger some quite severe thunderstorms at times, particularly across Spain, northern parts of Italy, parts of Switzerland. This could bring some quite intense hail, frequent lightning and also some gusty winds. But across southern parts of Italy, parts of Greece, it should remain mostly settled. Plenty of intense sunshine continuing as we head into the weekend, and temperatures widely remaining in the mid-30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. If you're in the southeast, then it is going to be another very warm and humid night ahead, but things are turning fresher. The high pressure that's brought all the settled weather recently and led to some very high temperatures, that's now clearing away towards the east, and in its wake we are seeing some various frontal systems making their way in. So as a result, as we go through the end of today and overnight, quite a bit of cloud across many eastern parts of Scotland and down the eastern side of England, some outbreaks of rain too, even some rain pushing into the far southeast. Further west, a drier, clearer night, a bit fresher here. Meanwhile, in the east, like I said at the start, still very warm and humid, albeit perhaps not quite as warm as it was last night. Then, as we go through tomorrow, a few showery bursts across parts of the southeast. These are likely to turn a bit heavier, maybe even thundery later. Down the eastern side of the UK, it is going to be a cloudy and at times wet start. Some of the rain could be quite heavy. Meanwhile, all the time across western areas, it's a drier, sunnier picture. That being said, there will be a few showers from the morning across the far west of Scotland, maybe even in the far west of Northern Ireland, and these showers are going to become a bit more widespread across Scotland and Northern Ireland as we go through the day. But there should be some sunny spells in between these showers, and away from eastern parts of England and Scotland, where it is still going to be pretty wet, other parts of England and Wales having a decent amount of sunshine, and although temperatures won't be anywhere near as high as they have been to start the week, it is still going to feel pretty warm in that sunshine. As we go into Thursday, it's a dry picture for much of England and Wales, but cloud and rain with some blustery winds coming in from the northwest, affecting parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. That unsettled weather is going to eventually feed its way southeastwards, but it's going to take until the weekend for many central and southern parts to actually see much of that rain. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
This is Britain's newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. So coming up, I have obtained horrific footage of a people smuggler glorifying ISIS, and I am going to ask how many terrorists have come across the channel. But first, immigration officers carried out a raid on a major London migrant hotel yesterday. They seized phones, bikes, they arrested a number of people, and it comes as claims surfaced on social media over the weekend that seemed to show a fast food burger restaurant being run from inside an illegal migrant hotel.
I said, big boy burgers. Big boy burgers. So this kitchen is rented out to big boy burgers. Yep, this is the kitchen where they make your food. This is where they make your food, big boy burgers.
Now, if you ran a business and that business somehow employed a huge number of illegal migrants, I think that there might be calls to close that business down. Certainly, at the very least, until you got your house in order. So why aren't we doing this for Deliveroo, for Just Eat, for Uber Eats? Joining me now is the leader of Reform UK in the London Assembly, it's Alex Wilson. Alex, tremendous to see you. Thank you very much. Shut down Deliveroo?
Not as a first step. I think that these services are well used by people and and well liked, and people use them to get their food delivered. But I think the law needs to be enforced absolutely rigorously. I mean, seeing those scenes there and the excellent work that the Sun.
Oh, I think we might have lost Alex. It's interesting this, though, because, look, I think is he back? No, we'll have to wait and see. So I want to know where you're at on this, though, OK? So for me, personally, I do come down on the idea that as convenient as Deliveroo and all of this are, and I use them, I hold my hands up to it, I suspect that many people, certainly people who live in cities, do use those things very regularly, and they are convenient. And I understand that a period of time where those apps were banned would pose some problems for your life and a lack of convenience. However, is there not a bigger moral problem here, which is that if we know that a huge number of illegal migrants are working illegally when they come to Britain in these particular services, is the best way to stop that to actually shut these companies down, even if it's for a brief window? Alex Wilson is back with us. Alex, thank you very much. Second time lucky. I think you're back. You sat very still. He's back. OK, so you wouldn't shut Deliveroo down?
Not necessarily, not straight away. I think we need to actually enforce the law properly in the first place, which is by stopping illegal migration, stopping the boats, and not putting these people up in these hotels at taxpayers' expense, where obviously they get their 3 meals a day, they get their accommodation, they get their medical treatment, they get NHS dentistry, all things that ordinary hard-working taxpayers struggle to get on a daily basis. But no, it's seeing the scenes that you've shown, and so the work that the Sun and yourselves and GB News have done in exposing this to wider attention is excellent, and well done for doing that. But fundamentally, we need to enforce the law and we need to stop the illegal migration crisis, and then we wouldn't be having these questions at all in the first place.
Well, I mean,
but there's a
you do have like these quote unquote citizen journalists who actually go out and do a huge amount of work actually. And in that case, there at that particular hotel went in, and it looked as though there was an entire fast food outlet running out the back of a migrant hotel. Now, what I would ask is, what on earth are security guards at the hotels doing? Because the taxpayers aren't just paying for these migrants to have free bed and board; they're also paying for the security at these hotels. And they obviously are not reporting it to the police, are they? When there's either A, a load of people with Just Eat and Deliveroo bikes, or B, an actual restaurant in there.
Yeah, absolutely. What they do, they're paid for by you and I, the taxpayer, and they should be doing the job on behalf of you and I, the taxpayer, and making sure that this isn't able to happen. But there's a real issue with the deliveries themselves, a real issue about public safety. If you have these potentially thousands of unknown, undocumented, illegal migrants who nobody knows what their background is, and yet they're going out and delivering these food to addresses all over London, all over the country, perhaps. And actually, as it happens, I've tried to ask a question of my good friend, the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, about this, because it's clearly a big issue in London, and there's an issue about public safety, an issue about safety for women and girls in particular. And he talks, and his Deputy Mayor for Policing and Crime always talk about safety of women and girls, and yet I've tried to ask a question to say, you know, are you concerned, given what you've said about women and girls, are you concerned about these potentially thousands of illegal migrants delivering food to these addresses? And that question's been ruled out of order.
It's out of order?
I'm not going to have to ask it.
Oh, it's out of order. Right, it's out. You're out of order for worrying about that. Well, thank you very much. You can be out of order on this show anytime you like. So it's Alex Wilson there, who is the leader of Reform UK in the London Assembly. Thank you very, very much. We have a statement here from Just Eat, who's one of the delivery companies that I mentioned there. The other delivery companies are not here to defend themselves, so there we go. The account in question has been suspended with immediate effect. Whilst we conduct a thorough investigation, we are continuously strengthening our approach to ensure anyone who delivers through Just Eat's platform has the right to work in the UK. We've now rolled out the next phase of our substitute verification process. Any couriers that fail these checks are removed from our network. Oh, we have heard from Deliveroo as well. Good. We take a zero-tolerance approach to anyone abusing our platform, and a meeting with industry partners in the Home Office represents progress in our collective efforts to combat illegal working. Oh, good. We've heard from Uber Eats as well. Fantastic. We are committed to tackling illegal working and welcome continued collaboration with industry and the Home Office, which is essential in raising standards and ensuring consistency. We'll continue to invest in industry-leading tools to detect illegal work and remove fraudulent accounts. Well, that clears everything up. Thank you. Coming up at 10 p.m, big exclusive. When they're not bringing people over the channel, they are pumping out ISIS propaganda. How many terrorists have come to Britain in the last few days? But before that, the King has updated his official role to put himself in charge of saving the planet. Is he once again in danger of politicising the monarchy? Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GBNews family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
please bring us up to date.
Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. So very shortly, spot of human trafficking, spot of ISIS support. All in a day's work for the people bringing people across the English Channel. But before that, King Charles has officially changed his role as monarch to include leading on so-called environmental sustainability. So Buckingham Palace last night confirmed that King Charles's job will now include 4 key themes to guide the royal family in their engagements. So national unity, community impact, cultural heritage, alongside the King's environmental pledge. The redrawing of the King's role to include such an overt environmental pledge has certainly raised eyebrows. Not the first time he's courted controversy. At an energy summit in April, King Charles personally sent a letter which was read out by the Energy Secretary Ed Miliband, stressing the importance of transitioning to, quote, cleaner energy. Also supported Starmer and as well Angela Rayner on an eco-house project. But I'm joined now by the editor-at-large at the Mail on Sunday, Charlotte Griffiths. Charlotte, thank you very much. Is the King quivering on the edge here of politicisation, saying that, you know, it's now in his job description to help save the planet?
I actually don't think he is. I think he's come very close to being on the wrong side of this very fine line in the past. But since becoming king, he's made a real concerted effort to stop politicising his environmental efforts. I mean, he has actually in the past spoken at COP in Dubai and basically pledged his allegiance to net zero. But now that he's the king, he's rowing back on that. So I don't think he is. I don't think he is on the wrong side of this one. And I also think these days the environment isn't party political. I mean, sure, if he was banging on about net zero, maybe. But, you know, it's fair enough. And also, it's very authentically King Charles. He's been banging on about the environment since he was a teenager. I mean, he used to get really upset to the point of tears about trees getting cut down when he was a teenager. And he used to speak about it back then when he was, you know, a boy. So it's kind of on brand for him. It doesn't feel political.
I mean, he also quite famously used to, and presumably still does, speak to plants as well. So it is very on brand for King Charles. I just worry that you can no longer in Britain differentiate between environmental issues and the politics of that. So, for example, you know, being in favour of things like solar panels, well, now solar panels cost us money and it's government policy and all of this stuff. So I worry that the King is intentionally or otherwise straying into political territory here.
I think the King's all about attraction, not promotion. So he has put these solar panels on Clarence House. He's used biofuels in all his vehicles. He's trying to electrify the whole fleet of royal cars. I just think it's just genuinely what he wants to do. I do know what you mean. It is flirting with the very complicated idea of where these solar panels are made. I think he's more in danger of trying to steal the crown from David Attenborough, to be honest, because he's got this sort of grandfather of the nation vibe. You know, David Attenborough's 99. Who's going to lead the nation in saving the planet if and when, sadly, our great David Attenborough dies? I honestly think he thinks this is his duty, is to just remind us all that, you know, this planet is precious. He loves nature. He often speaks about wanting to protect it for grandchildren. One thing I would say, though, is he did say in this announcement about his 4 new key themes that he did say he wants to make the royal household net zero by 2040. So he is going down that road a little bit, but it's more attraction, not promotion, I think.
My fear for him is that the Labour government might try to use him more with this stuff to try to back up. Well, I mean, Ed Miliband is the largest eco-zealot that this country has ever seen. And if he starts using the King to try to vindicate himself, that is a problem, I think, Charlotte.
The Labour government have used the King every 5 minutes. They trot him out to meet Trump, to meet Zelensky, to meet Mark Carney. You know, I think you were right to bring up the walkabout that he did with the housing minister, because I found that very much bringing him into an area that politicises him. So I think he should be wary of being used by the Labour Party, but I don't think he is politicising himself, and he has done that in the past with his famous Black Spider memos, where he lobbied the government with his famous handwriting.
That's true.
And I just think he's deliberately trying not to do that now that he's king. And he once actually said, I wouldn't be that stupid to do that.
OK, Charlotte, thank you so much. Charlotte Griffiths there, the editor-at-large of the Mail on Sunday. Tremendous stuff. Well, I know that will divide opinion at home, so let me know what you think. But coming up in just a few minutes... I reveal a prolific human trafficker is also posting ISIS propaganda. How many terrorists have come across the channel? Stay tuned.
positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. If you're in the southeast, then it is going to be another very warm and humid night ahead, but things are turning fresher. The high pressure that's brought all the settled weather recently and led to some very high temperatures, that's now clearing away towards the east, and in its wake we are seeing some various frontal systems making their way in. So as a result, as we go through the end of today and overnight, quite a bit of cloud across many eastern parts of Scotland and down the eastern side of England, some outbreaks of rain too, even some rain pushing into the far southeast. Further west, a drier, clearer night, a bit fresher here. Meanwhile, in the east, like I said at the start, still very warm and humid, albeit perhaps not quite as warm as it was last night. Then, as we go through tomorrow, a few showery bursts across parts of the southeast. These are likely to turn a bit heavier, maybe even thundery later. Down the eastern side of the UK, it is going to be a cloudy and at times wet start. Some of the rain could be quite heavy. Meanwhile, all the time across western areas, it's a drier, sunnier picture. That being said, there will be a few showers from the morning across the far west of Scotland, maybe even in the far west of Northern Ireland, and these showers are going to become a bit more widespread across Scotland and Northern Ireland as we go through the day. But there should be some sunny spells in between these showers and away from eastern parts of England and Scotland, where it is still going to be pretty wet. Other parts of England and Wales having a decent amount of sunshine, and although temperatures won't be anywhere near as high as they have been to start the week, it is still going to feel pretty warm in that sunshine. As we go into Thursday, it's a dry picture for much of England and Wales, but cloud and rain with some blustery winds coming in from the northwest, affecting parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. That unsettled weather is going to eventually feed its way southeastwards, but it's going to take until the weekend for many central and southern parts to actually see much of that rain. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in a chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight.
This is crazy, man. This is outrageous, man.
Yes, indeed. So, welcome to Sir Keir Starmer's Benefits Britain.
These Dickensian cuts belong to a different era and a different party.
He has U-turned on welfare reforms. Get ready for tax rises and...
Breaking news, and GB News can reveal that over 20,000 small boat migrants have arrived so far this year. That's a 50% higher than at the same point last year.
Record channel crossings, but tonight I reveal this. Human traffickers are posting ISIS videos. How many terrorists have come to Britain? And...
Hello, Lucy, is it?
Yes.
Hello, my name's Chester, please. Look, it's Stefan, 2 seconds.
Yes?
Yeah, thank you.
3 of Lucy Letby's bosses are arrested on suspicion of gross negligence manslaughter. What does that mean for her? And what's happening here? I have got all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages with GB News presenter Alex Armstrong, columnist and broadcaster Esther Krakow, and journalist Jonathan Liss. And can you please tell me what you think this is? And don't forget to tune in to Late Edition, the biggest and best pay-per-view show on television, 11 p.m. until midnight. And, by the way, the jury has apparently reached a partial verdict in the Diddy trial. So we're going to be giving you that live as and when we get it. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. I think ISIS are coming across the channel. Next.
Good evening from the GB Newsroom. Aaron Armstrong here with the headlines. The government's won a key vote on its controversial welfare reforms despite suffering a large rebellion.
The ayes to the right, 335. The noes to the left, 260. So the ayes have it, unlock.
MPs passed the welfare bill by a majority of 75 votes at the second reading, but only after making major concessions to Labour rebels. Any changes to eligibility for PIP payments will now be delayed until after a review in November next year. 44 Labour MPs still voted for an amendment blocking the bill's passage. Today's concession follows a previous U-turn last week. But the Work and Pension Secretary Liz Kendall insists it hasn't damaged the Prime Minister's authority.
I think people are 100% behind a Prime Minister
They're not, though, are they?
the first Labour government in 14 years. They know they
They've humiliated him over and over again.
They were elected on a mandate for change. You know, there are definitely lessons to learn from this process. I certainly will do that, and I'm sure my colleagues will too.
What's the key lesson to learn?
We have agreed on the principles of reform here. We need to make changes to the system, and tonight's vote begins to make a start.
The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, described the concession as an utter capitulation and the bill as a pointless waste of time. Labour MP for South Shields, Emma Lewell, told GB News why she voted against it.
I'm angry. This is no way to make legislation. What an absolute mess. Anybody watching that play out, and for my disabled constituents watching that play out, I can't imagine what they're thinking now. And there was no way I could vote for that bill because, quite frankly, we didn't really know what we're voting for anymore. The uncertainty that disabled people have had to live with for such a long time since we first introduced this, and now they've had to witness that, and then people have voted that through when we don't even know what it means.
A 7-year-old girl who died after a tree collapse at a park in Essex has been named as Leona Ruka from Dagenham. Emergency services were called to Chalkwell Park in Southend on Saturday when several children became trapped. One of them remains in a critical condition. Leona's family have described her as the light in their lives. And the breaking news for you, a jury has reached a partial verdict on several counts in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. The judge overseeing the case said on Tuesday, after a 7-week trial in which 2 of the music mogul's former girlfriends testified that he physically and sexually abused them. We can see some live pictures now from the courthouse exterior in New York, where an announcement is expected shortly. We'll bring that to you, of course. The US District Judge has said the jury informed him towards the end of its second day of deliberations it's reached a verdict on the 2 counts each of sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution that Combs faces. But the jury has not been able to reach a verdict on the racketeering conspiracy charge. Finally, the King's been presented with the keys to the city of Edinburgh in a ceremony marking the start of his official stay in Scotland. Charles attended the ceremony of the keys in the gardens of the Palace of Holyrood House. Each year he traditionally spends a week based there for Holyrood Week, or otherwise known as Royal Week in Scotland. He was presented with the keys by the Lord Provost of Edinburgh, Robert Aldridge. There's your headlines. I'll be back with more at 11 o'clock.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. Yes, OK, so we are expecting the verdict, or at least a partial verdict, of that Sean Diddy Combs trial to be brought to you shortly. We will bring that to you as and when it happens. But before that, it is a record year for illegal immigrants. 20,000 have crossed the Channel so far this year. That is a 50% increase. 13 boats arrived yesterday. 879 illegals came to Britain. That's about, what, 4 migrant hotels in one day? But who is coming across? So we all know that there could be rapists, paedophiles, murderers and terrorists. But the left like to scoff at you and call you a racist when you say things like that. Well, show them what I'm about to show you then. Because one of the people smugglers that we've been tracking initially just started sharing stuff like this yesterday. Now, depressingly, that's normal stuff. Boat crossings, young Middle Eastern-looking men on the march across Europe before invading Britain. Well, then, that same person shared these videos. If we just pause it there, because I think what you'll be able to see in the top right of your screen is the black flag of ISIS. So that appears to be an ISIS propaganda video. He then goes on to share videos of brutal executions, people being shot in the head at point-blank range. It's sickening, and for understandable reasons, we have decided not to broadcast that. But here is the rest of what one people smuggler was posting. So these are the people bringing illegal migrants to Britain. There you go. I mean, it looks to me like they might be ISIS fanatics. How many terrorists is this Labour government letting into Britain? Let's get the thoughts of my panel. We've got GB News presenter Alex Armstrong, political commentator Esther Kraku, and, of course, journalist Jonathan Liss. So, Alex, you know, yet again there, it appears some quite devastating stuff from the old human trafficker brigade. The black flag of ISIS proudly displayed on their social media, and execution videos.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what, Patrick? I wish I could say I was surprised. But like you, when you saw that video, you probably weren't surprised. You probably knew this has been happening all along. People coming to this country that hate us, that want to cause harm to British people. I'm not saying they all are. I'm saying that there probably will be 1 or 2 of them at least that are coming over here doing that. I mean, you only got to look at the statistics, haven't we, to see how many incarcerations there are from foreign nationals. I don't know how many of them will be illegal migrants, but this should send shockwaves up and down the country.
Yeah. So that guy was bringing people illegally to Britain over the weekend and possibly yesterday as well. We can tell that from his social media presence. We've been in communication with him for a period of time as well. So we know that's happening. And at the same time, he's posting ISIS videos and execution videos. And it does make you wonder as to how many terrorists are coming across the channel.
It's not really surprising that someone who's willing to traffic people and risk their lives in the channel doesn't have seem to have the most upstanding morals. But even taking the emotion out of it and, this horde of people coming across on boats and the whole imagery around it, you have to admit on a basic level that if you have porous borders, you are leaving your native population at risk of people, however tiny a minority they may be, of the people that are entering the country, of people that have ill intentions. And the bigger question isn't the fact that they're just coming here and many of them are trying to claim asylum dubiously or any of that. It's about the most vulnerable in society, women and children, the elderly, for example, people that are not naturally primed to protect themselves. What do they do when these people are infiltrated into their communities? And you have neighbourhoods that are saying, actually, we have a heightened sense of concern.
Yeah.
Not because we're racist, but because we don't know who these people are.
The other dimension to this is how do most people who get to Britain come to Britain? They find a human trafficker on TikTok, and people will have looked at that human trafficker's content, seen the ISIS stuff, and decided, he's my guy. Jonathan, and that really does make me question whether or not we are just allowing ISIS to flood Britain.
Well, as Esther says, people, smugglers are, by and large, dreadful, exploitative human beings who will exploit human misery, for profit. That is why I say week after week on this programme that the way to smash the smuggling gangs is to smash their monopoly. And the way you can do that is by actually offering a safe and legal alternative through the government, because we know there are going to be people who will be coming here, whether we like it or not, and the best thing to do is actually to either process them in France, or both processing them in France.
Does it not
and
worry
also
you, the
provide
ISIS connection?
But no, look, of course it worries me, Patrick.
That doesn't worry you. The man who's posting that ISIS content and the stuff that we weren't able to show was utterly horrendous. People being shot in the back of the head at point blank.
We're disagreeing on that. I don't think we're disagreeing on the fact that these are abhorrent people that have no place here and they shouldn't be bringing people here. I don't think we disagree that the system is horrible. The question is, what do we do about it? And for many people...
Well, you can start by nicking him.
Well, they're looking at a government that doesn't know what it's doing. So while I take your point, I think the frustration that people get whenever we talk about, we've processed them and, offer them safe and legal routes, this people smuggling gang business, it's the same as the drug business. We've spent billions of pounds trying to tackle the supply and say, yes, we're going to infiltrate people's cities.
We should legalise drugs as well.
But again, it doesn't work.
Right.
It's about the demand as opposed to the supply. If people knew that once they come to if people knew that once they come to Britain, they have by these routes, there is no way they're going to be allowed to stay. That is how you smash the gangs.
Okay, it's less for me about smashing the gangs so much and looking at that in isolation there and saying, is that not pretty cast-iron proof that ISIS, Islamic State and other jihadi terrorist organisations are involved in channel crossings?
Yeah, 100%, Patrick. I think without a doubt. My concern is that there's possibly one or two of them may already be here, maybe more, Patrick. Yeah. And
look at the impending attack on the Israeli embassy.
Well, exactly, right?
One of whom came across on the boats.
Well, this is it.
By that Iranian national.
This is what I'm going to say, right? There's only one way we can be sure and we can be safe, and that is by deporting all of them. Anyone that has come here illegally, we should deport them. This is not a joke. And the left are playing politics with this. Alex, but we're putting people's lives in danger. And as soon as one incident happens, one is too many. There's only one way we can deal with this. It's deport anyone that's come here illegally.
It is not a crime. It is not a crime to enter this country illegally. No, it is not a crime to seek asylum in this country. And there are no legal ways to do it. Almost none. There are almost no legal ways to do it.
Hang on a minute. You could just apply for a legal visa, couldn't you?
You can't seek asylum outside.
Yeah, but you don't have to seek asylum, you see.
Well, exactly. If you take that as well, because what people do is they come here. What people do, Patrick, is they come here legally and then they overstay their visa and claim asylum that way. And you take that as well.
Well, if they were trying to seek asylum, they would have stayed in the safest country they landed in, which
is not true either. We've been through this so many times. It's not what happens. It's not what happens. It's never been the case. It's nowhere in the international law is that written.
How many people have to die? Seriously, how many people have to die before we get action?
Well, quite. People are dying, the government should be stepping in and actually accepting that there is a problem, and the government should be setting up these visa processing, asylum processing in France.
Over the last couple of weeks on this show, I have shown people cast iron proof of AR-15 assault rifles in possession of the human traffickers are using. I've shown them all of that. I've now exposed an ISIS connection there that's pretty unequivocal. I mean, if this isn't a national emergency, then nothing is. But what has to happen? You know, seriously, someone come over here and just kill a load of people in the name of ISIS and we just have to accept that?
That's what will happen. That's what will happen, isn't it, Patrick? And then it will be too late. Because by that point, British people are already dead. And you've got the Liberal Democrats out yesterday calling for a Cobra meeting on the heat wave. I mean, what a joke. The political class have become in this country.
There are people.
Let's just deport the illegal migrants. Let's get them out of here. Let's stop them from coming because they won't come back when we start.
Alex, this is madness. You agree, Alex, you agree, Alex, you agree that there is a large number of asylum seekers who are legitimate asylum seekers.
No, I don't believe it's a large number.
You don't believe there are any. You don't believe there are any genuine refugees.
I believe
the government has approved 75% of a couple of years ago.
Yes, well, I mean, we look at why they're approving. You're going to go look at the ECHR.
That's nothing to do with it.
The men coming over on these boats are economic migrants. That's why they're getting jobs the minute they land.
They are being judged as the majority being judged as legitimate.
We had today the other big news of the day, and we're going to be returning to this at 10:30 when it's all over tomorrow's newspaper front pages, was of course the welfare U-turn that Keir Starmer has done. And so in the House of Commons today, we had MPs quibbling over, PIP and universal credit, whilst we've got millions of people on the take by the state, and you've got MPs there making all of these cases, and then eventually the government U-turns are just absolutely naffle. So we just plough ahead. We've wasted weeks on this, loads of political capital. It's all done, massive fallout for absolutely no result. We're in the same position as benefits before. Meanwhile, we've got Islamic State helping with the Channel migrant crossing. So is Starmer just fiddling while Britain burns, do you think?
Oh, he's asleep at the wheel. But, I mean, this problem is, it's beyond the competence, however limited that is, of Starmer and the government. I mean, there's nothing that can be said, not in Parliament, not here, not amongst the public, that's going to actually spur this government into action. It's very clear on that front. I mean, his humiliation on the small boats crossing, I think is probably going to be the biggest of his premiership. But I don't think that he's particularly bothered. This is not someone that's looking for the reef. I actually think he hates what he's doing. He looks pretty miserable. He's not getting anything done. I mean, he's trotting out his MPs to talk about wins that are not actually wins or are just virtually non-existent. The economy is tanking. I'm sorry, the least of his concerns, quite as scary as it is for us, is 20,000 men, predominantly men of fighting age, crossing the channel from God knows where. So this whole
it's not an army.
Hold on.
More of them have come over here from the
fighting age.
I said they are fighting. They're not old men. They're not with walking sticks.
You say they're working age.
So you don't think it's an invasion?
No, of course not.
What does an invasion look like, Jonathan?
Well, I mean, the Nazis, maybe. The Badlands.
We went to Calais on D-Day, and we've had more people cross the Channel to this country than we sent over to Calais.
It's just not rhetoric that I recognise at all.
The point I was making is the idea that Keir Starmer is somehow going to prioritise spending more of British money on processing people that most of whom have no claim to be in Britain is laughable. Like, it's ridiculous. This is not going to get solved. It's only going to get worse. You're going to have some scandal in a few months about some next Abdulaziz pouring acid on a woman and her two kids.
Or another 7-7. You're going to end up with another 7-7.
And it's sad.
Everyone's going to scratch their heads. Oh, how did it happen? I wonder how this happened. Well, maybe if you went on TikTok and saw that there's the bloke over there who's posting ISIS beheading videos and shooting people in the back of their head, and he's helping bring people into Britain. Oh, shall we put two and two together and wonder how on earth these jihadi terrorists got
the majority of people are already here. They've been grown, they've homegrown.
In Britain, where a convicted sexual offender who cannot be allowed to sit in a church by himself was granted asylum after being rejected twice.
And Jonathan said there that what I said was rubbish because most of them are homegrown. But you think we haven't got a problem with integration, do you, Jonathan?
I'm not saying we don't have a problem with terrorism in this country.
All right.
I'm not saying we don't.
Terrorism.
I'm not. If you look at the people, if you look at the attacks, and by the way, so many times we see these attacks. It turns out not to be Islamist at all, by the way. But you have, you're not going to solve this problem by stopping people coming on the boats because there are a lot of people in this country who obviously are a risk. No one would deny that.
Can I just also point out, just to supplement that, one in four people convicted of terrorist offences since 1998 have been of an asylum background. So there's no link there.
Right.
None at all.
OK, exactly. Well, we just all have to suck it up, do we?
We
just all have to sit. We just have to sit here and let it wash over us. You know, look, like I said, next we are going to be doing the whole Lucy Letby thing. There were big developments in that case there. And at 10:30, you know, we did it at 9 p.m. I didn't want to overkill it. At 10:30, I'm going to be doing all the welfare and benefits U-turns because it'll be on all the front pages. But for me, I make no apologies for this. What's going on in the English Channel is existential to Britain, as far as I'm concerned. It just really, really winds me up that nothing seems to be done. You know, there's an ISIS video there. See if anything's done about it. I suspect not. Anyway, we have got the coolest cash prize of the summer to be won. Yes, totally tax-free. £54,321 can all be yours. Here's how.
The Great British Giveaway is now even greater, with your chance to win our biggest cash prize so far. A totally tax-free £54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Imagine what you could do with that. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash, so make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, good luck, everybody. Yes, so the big story is on the front of pretty much every single national newspaper. I'll be revealing them all at 10:30. But the Prime Minister is tonight in deep, deep trouble, suffering his worst rebellion yet. It was over welfare reforms. It's a U-turn, it's a tax rise, it's everything rolled into one. It's a shocker. And, of course, the jury in America has reached a partial verdict in the Diddy trial. So we're going to go live to New York as soon as we get that announcement. But first, 3 Lucy Letby hospital bosses have been arrested on suspicion of gross negligence manslaughter. So what does this mean for Lucy Letby? Is the case now blown wide open? Stay tuned.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
You have a very nice accent, and I always thought but obviously I'm totally wrong. I've learned something already straight away.
I mean, we've interviewed together on countless occasions. I thought you would have picked up on my English accent.
Oh no, you're just changing it now. You're changing it a bit here.
Yeah, I'm just putting it on for you, mate.
Well, I'll tell you this, Chesney. I think it's amazing that we're talking about a tour next March for a man like you, and that shows you the extent to which you have to be organised to do these things. I thought like you're advertising this for this month or next month. Why the need to go so early?
Oh no, it's just to give people plenty of advance notice. You know, these days life comes up very fast, doesn't it? So I'm always touring, Eamon. I've actually got some headline shows coming up next week. I'm in Cardiff and Southampton, but we've just announced this headline tour for next year. So I thought I'd get it out there and let people know in advance. You know.
Good. And Chesney, just looking at your Instagram now, I mean, you've got a sense of humour, haven't you? Because you've been putting videos out there saying people think I'm a one-hit wonder, but let me tell you, there'll be a lot more songs than just the one that you're most famous for.
Yes. Contrary to popular belief, there are other songs. So looking forward, I've got a new album out right now, Ellie, and it's all been very, very well received. I'm so honoured and grateful for that. And so, yeah, I'll be performing some of this new album out on the road soon. You guys should come.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Fascinating story, this. So, 3 hospital bosses have now been arrested on suspicion of gross negligence manslaughter in connection with the case of Lucy Letby. The 3 were in senior leadership roles at the Countess of Chester Hospital between 2015 and 2016 and were arrested following an 18-month investigation by Cheshire Police into, quote, increased fatalities in that time period. Now, this was the same time, a couple of years during which Lucy Letby carried out the crimes that she has been convicted of, which are murdering 7 babies and attempting to kill 7 others. But as I'm sure everyone knows, everyone's got a view on this. You know, is she really guilty? Is she not really guilty? Some high-profile people have come out and said they don't think she is. It's a remarkable case, and this is a remarkable development. So I'm joined now by the lawyer, Rebecca Butler. Rebecca, thank you very, very much. So I am aware that there's a series of active cases here, but I just think it's important for our viewers and listeners to get a bit of context. So what does gross negligence manslaughter mean?
Well, gross negligence manslaughter is only available where there has been a breach of the duty of care that an individual holds towards a patient in this case, and that they have failed in their duty of care, and their failures pose a significant risk of death to an individual, and that's simply it. It's an offence that's usually reserved for medical staff, but actually it can also be used in a corporate sense where corporations have, in their act by acting or failing to act, which is what will apply in this case, I believe, and death has resulted from those failures.
OK. Now, again, I'll make it very clear, I am certainly not implying any guilt on behalf of any of the people who have been arrested or anything like that. But could this have any consequences for Lucy Letby at all? I mean, what does this imply?
Absolutely nothing for her convictions. This goes to the actions of 3 people, apparently, that failed to act in a timely manner. This was all brought out in the evidence sessions at the Thirlwall inquiry. The evidence actually is there for all to see if people want to go and read the transcripts of the evidence. And it's fairly obvious that the concerns were raised about Lucy back in June 2015, and certain individuals who were signposted for these concerns actually sat on it and did nothing. So there are serious questions to be asked about the management structures in that hospital over their refusal to take the concerns of the senior consultant, Dr. Breary, seriously.
The irony here, of course, is that presumably these people will now be hoping that Lucy Letby in the fullness of time is cleared, which then means that they were not responsible for anything.
Well, they could still be held liable, maybe not under gross negligence manslaughter, certainly not for that charge, but they could still be held liable for a dereliction of their duty and not acting appropriately on Dr. Breary's signposting back in June 2015. I mean, there's one of the people was told in June 2015 and did nothing, didn't even respond to him until May 2016. There's other pieces in the evidence which I've gone through this evening where the consultants were saying, look, Lucy Letby's on duty. for the rest of this week, and we're really concerned about her as an individual, and we know this because this was all in the public domain in the criminal trial, so we know those doctors said that. But what we also know is that that nothing was done about it. She wasn't suspended. She wasn't removed from duty, and then 2 more babies died. And I think that is going to be the focus of the police investigation, and that is going to be lifted from the transcripts of the Thirlwell inquiry, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that one way or another, this has yet again shone a light on the dire state of maternity care in Britain as a whole. Numerous different maternity scandals spanning pretty much the length and breadth of the country, of which this is one. And so we wait and see. But look, hey, thank you very much. And just trying to have your insight on it all. It's morbidly, but it's a morbidly fascinating case, isn't it? So it will roll on. Thank you very, very much for your time. That is lawyer Rebecca Butler. Again, I'm at pains to say several people have been arrested. I'm not implying guilt on their part whatsoever, and we'll just have to wait and see what goes forward. But coming up, I've got all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. They do make for grim reading for the Prime Minister, so he's being slammed for his humiliating welfare climb down. There's also issues with the 20,000 illegal migrants that have come into Britain, and the number of babies in Britain being born to foreign mothers. Stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
The heat wave continues across western and central parts of continental Europe, temperatures widely reaching the mid-30s, and this is likely to trigger some quite severe thunderstorms at times, particularly across Spain, northern parts of Italy, parts of Switzerland. This could bring some quite intense hail, frequent lightning and also some gusty winds. But across southern parts of Italy, parts of Greece, it should remain mostly settled. Plenty of intense sunshine continuing as we head into the weekend, and temperatures widely remaining in the mid-30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. If you're in the southeast, then it is going to be another very warm and humid night ahead, but things are turning fresher. The high pressure that's brought all the settled weather recently and led to some very high temperatures, that's now clearing away towards the east, and in its wake we are seeing some various frontal systems making their way in. So as a result, as we go through the end of today and overnight, quite a bit of cloud across many eastern parts of Scotland and down the eastern side of England, some outbreaks of rain too, even some rain pushing into the far southeast. Further west, a drier, clearer night, a bit fresher here. Meanwhile, in the east, like I said at the start, still very warm and humid, albeit perhaps not quite as warm as it was last night. Then, as we go through tomorrow, a few showery bursts across parts of the southeast. These are likely to turn a bit heavier, maybe even thundery later. Down the eastern side of the UK, it is going to be a cloudy and at times wet start. Some of the rain could be quite heavy. Meanwhile, all the time across western areas, it's a drier, sunnier picture. That being said, there will be a few showers from the morning across the far west of Scotland, maybe even in the far west of Northern Ireland, and these showers are going to become a bit more widespread across Scotland and Northern Ireland as we go through the day. But there should be some sunny spells in between these showers, and away from eastern parts of England and Scotland where it is still going to be pretty wet. Other parts of England and Wales having a decent amount of sunshine, and although temperatures won't be anywhere near as high as they have been to start the week, it is still going to feel pretty warm in that sunshine. As we go into Thursday, it's a dry picture for much of England and Wales, but cloud and rain with some blustery winds coming in from the northwest, affecting parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. That unsettled weather is going to eventually feed its way southeastwards, but it's going to take until the weekend for many central and southern parts to actually see much of that rain. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
please bring us up to date.
Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. I believe, before we show you tomorrow's newspaper front pages, I can take you live to New York because the jury has reached a verdict in the Sean Diddy Coombs trial. It's a partial verdict, so we await for that. The crowds are gathering outside the court in New York. I mean, Sean Diddy Coombs is probably the case that's gripped the public attention more than almost anything else in the last however a year or so. And actually, Esther, you are obsessed, aren't you?
Obsessed. I followed the whole trial. All 7 weeks of it.
OK, so we'll have to wait and see. A partial verdict has been reached.
4 of the 5 counts, not just so it's the majority of the verdict.
Go on, tell me what you know.
OK, so the jury have reached a verdict on basically everything except the racketeering charge, in which they told the judge that there are opposing jurors that have sort of completely different views, and so it looks like it's going to go to a mistrial, which is what happened in the Bill Cosby case. I don't remember.
And then he walks.
No, they're going to retry him.
And then they retry him.
So this is what happened with the Bill Cosby case. So because with a racketeering charge, a federal racketeering charge, the verdict has to be unanimous, and if jurors cannot agree, what usually happens is the Fed will see how many did agree, and if they look like they can get it tighter, they will just retry.
And this is the trial that's had it all, hasn't it? It's had, you know, these freak-off parties,
yes, with
gallons of baby oil, drugs, celebrities. I mean, pretty much every single A-lister that Hollywood has to offer, spanning the last 30 years, and rap music and all sorts. They've all been dragged into this in one way or another. It's had absolutely everything, hasn't it?
So urinated on. I mean, it really goes.
Do you know what really haunted me was that footage of him running after his ex-girlfriend, I believe, down the hallway?
Yeah.
That was haunting.
Well, you know what's interesting? The defence called no witnesses. They literally offered no defence, basically. So after the prosecution finished their trial, the judge said to defence, OK, make your case.
Yeah, I mean, if I was him, I'd probably be...
That's why it was only 7 weeks. They literally said nothing. Because what exactly... They weren't able to call any witnesses up that were willing to defend P. Diddy.
I'm quite surprised at that.
Well, why would you be, though? Did you see the video of him manhandling Cassie like a rag doll?
Yeah, I mean, obviously unacceptable, don't get me wrong. But what I am saying is I'm quite surprised that they were not able to find anyone who had been at any of his parties or had spent years with him, maybe spent years on his payroll, who owed him quite a lot of money, or maybe who had a few skeletons in their closet, let's be honest, who was willing to go into bat for the guy.
I mean, what would happen? Like, Jay-Z would come up and say he's a stand-up guy. I mean, there's, like, P. Diddy's radioactive. There is no amount of money, even for the smallest person, that would want them anywhere near this case, especially defending P. Diddy. It's suicidal.
You wouldn't want to bring attention to yourself, would you?
Exactly. Like, you are the person that defended P. Diddy after he had male prostitutes urinate on his girlfriend, amongst other horrific acts.
Indeed. And, you know, apologies at home if you didn't know that about him. Or were maybe a fan of his music. But anyway, needless to say, those are some details for you. You're looking at the steps of the courtroom outside New York there. Again, I'll emphasise that the breaking news is that a jury has reached a partial verdict in the Diddy trial. Look, what we'll do now is I'll do some of tomorrow's newspaper front pages and we'll snap back to that as and when we get the results. Let's start with the Metro. Harvey, Dad, I'm scared to go to school. So this is knife fears of a teen stabbed to death at lunch. So a pupil who was 15 at the time on trial for murder after a row over a Snapchat. I'm going to insert the word allegedly here, allegedly turned fatal. Right, let's go to the iPaper. Labour rebels force Starmer to retreat on benefits cuts again amid chaos in the Commons. This is the most chaotic day in the Commons of Keir Starmer's premiership, and that really is saying something. U-turn, U-turn, U-turn. He's lost the backbenchers completely, and also we are now not going to get benefits and welfare cuts, which means that we're on the hook for billions of pounds more. Let's just go to the Daily Telegraph. Their lead story is the same one. Keir Starmer's benefits bill turns to farce. Late concessions to Rebel removes most of the £4.6 billion that it would have saved. We're now going to have to find that money, and by we, I mean literally we are. It's you, it's me, it's most people we know.
Are we spending like £8 billion quid a day on the hotels? I can.
Well, we're getting there. The other story that they've got, well, there's a few other stories here. They've also got the Lucy Letby story that we just covered. There's an interesting one here, which is 4 in 10 babies have a foreign-born parent. So we'll talk about that a bit later on. But the main story in town, might as well bring the Telegraph up, I suppose. Starmer's benefits bill turns to farce. He's being savaged on the front pages yet again. There's no money being saved. It was an absolute joke in the Commons today. U-turn, U-turn, U-turn. He's turned into a comedy character, and he's going to cost us all money, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, we could all see this coming, couldn't we? He's got weaker and weaker as he's failed to get control of his party. His policy agenda has gone completely through the floor. His backbench MPs have smelt blood. They've smelt weakness. They can see a strong Angela Rayner, who's been putting out briefings, leaking them to us as we reported all the time here at GBNews, that alternative manifesto, essentially, to the Telegraph, which they must have looked at and gone, well, why can't we have that? Why can't we have that?
Have we got that clip, by the way, of that MP who was saying what a ridiculous vote this was? Do you remember that one? Thank you. Yeah, because this is where it got to, because they've been talking about this for ages. They knew there was going to be a backbench rebellion. They wanted to cut the benefits bill. They wanted to cut personal independence pay. I struggle to say it. Personal independence payments and universal credit to stop the taxpayer footing this whopping great big bill. Huge amounts of numbers of people. Roughly speaking, 22% of the working age population in Britain are on benefits. That is staggering. I mean, that in itself is unsustainable, Esther. It's unsustainable.
So what people need to realise is the increase in people that are claiming particularly PIP payments since the lockdown have mainly been people under the age of 35 who have been in long-term unemployment or have actually never worked. So come out of university, for example, and haven't been able to find a job. About upwards of 700,000 people in this category are claiming for anxiety and depression, which I'm not really sure what they thought not having a job would feel like. But
well, yes.
Anyway, and it is a disgrace that Britain has given up on its young people and is now basically paying them to stay home. I think that's the message that we're getting here. And this idea that we're giving up on disabled people, no, we're pushing them to the back of the queue. We're not a country that allows people to basically stay at home and not work and then at the same time basically disadvantages people that actually need that kind of support. That's completely immoral.
Yeah, I mean, just to give you a couple of new lines that are developing here. So this is in the detail of the Daily Telegraph copy. Helen Miller, who is from the Institute for Fiscal Studies, has said, this is a government with a majority of 165 that is seemingly unable to reform either pensioner winter fuel payments or working age disability benefits. That doesn't bode well for those hoping it will grasp the nettle and address the deeper structural challenges facing the UK's public finances. Jonathan, I put to you that Britain needs a leader. Britain is facing an existential crisis. It is in terminal decline. And what we have is a jellyfish of a man in Downing Street.
I don't accept that Britain is facing an existential crisis. I don't accept that we have to be in terminal decline. This kind of miserablism that we always hear, we're apparently being told, comes from the left. It's just not true. Britain obviously has major challenges. I don't believe
like a record number of wealth creators leaving in a single year.
That is not one of the challenges.
Why is that? Okay, why is that not one of the challenges? So here we go, Jonathan. So for you don't think that record numbers of wealthy people leaving Britain in a year is a challenge to Britain?
Those people, look, those people were often siphoning off wealth anyway.
Oh, right.
So, like, the trickle-down, it was trickle-down economics without any of the wealth actually trickling down at all. What you find...
F the millionaires.
Look, they can do what they like. People like living in London, just like they like living in New York.
Do you know what
they're saying that Zara Mamdani, they're going to leave as well.
Do you know what percentage of taxpayers pays basically 60% of the tax receipts? 10%.
Right.
Top 10%. This idea that people who are extraordinarily wealthy don't pay taxes or don't foot a significant part of the tax bill is a farce. Now, let me tell you what's going to happen, because the markets are not stupid. They see that Britain is unable to tackle some of the fundamental macroeconomic factors in this country, to the extent that we can't even shave off £5 billion off a welfare bill.
Yep.
So what's going to happen is borrowing costs are going to increase. So we're just going to keep indebting a smaller and smaller younger generation, and the more talented of them are going to leave, because why should they pick up the tab
This is
for
This
the
is what
elderly?
we're getting in Britain.
And it's just going to be just go down the drain from there. This idea that, oh, you don't accept the fact that Britain is in decline. You don't have to accept it. It's
you know what? And the idea now as well.
Nigel Farage is going to save us.
You're going to be taxed.
It's just you're going to be taxed
more. You're not going to be able to put 20 grand a year into a cash ISA. It's going to be your tax free allowance is going to be £5 grand. You know, it sucks the aspiration away. The good people who are wealth created, we should be. You know, I love millionaires. I'd like to be one day. I really love multimillionaires. I absolutely adore billionaires. Why? Because they employ people. They pay a load of tax. They take a lot of risk. They are people that we
people like Amazon doesn't pay any tax.
And you should want to be one.
Look, some of the wealthiest people in this country don't pay any tax at all, Patrick, as you know perfectly well. Some of them richest people don't pay any tax at all.
Economically illiterate.
They'll still pay more tax than you.
Exactly. We have people in this country who should want to be a millionaire, and we've got a government that goes, if you want to put 20 grand in a cash ISA, we'll tax the backside off.
No. Yeah, we have got a real problem with aspiration. We have actually, this is a cultural problem Britain faces. I've lived in America, I've been to America. They will help you. If you want to be successful, they will help you. We have the exact opposite. Our government does not incentivise you to work. It doesn't incentivise you to become rich. In fact, it wants to keep you poor.
They're cutting Medicaid to give billionaires a tax cut.
Rather than us having a Prime Minister, at least Nigel Farage has aspirational qualities about
for himself.
Nigel Farage is at least one man, but Keir Starmer can't even run a party. The man has been he's managed to become leader of the Labour Party because he was voted in after Jeremy Corbyn because the party was crumbling then, and his current the current intake of his MPs don't even agree with his policy agenda.
The problem with billionaires is they suck wealth from the economy. They actually don't add, and a lot of those billionaires, by the way, take a massive amount of subsidies, Patrick.
They all do.
They take a massive amount of subsidies, and they have other people who actually help them become billionaires.
All
and
right.
no one becomes a billionaire on their own,
then?
Patrick.
What's your excuse?
My excuse for what?
For not being like.
I don't want to be a billionaire.
You don't want to be a millionaire?
No.
Okay, that's why you're not a billionaire.
Right, fine. No, great. OK, no, fine. Just wondered. It's a choice.
Why aren't you?
Coming
Why aren't you a
up,
billionaire?
the Prime Minister's Smash the Gang shambles makes the front pages of the Daily Mail and the Sun. I'll bring you both of those very, very shortly. Stay tuned.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Good afternoon, Britain. A cheerful lollipop man's signature high fives have been stopped in their tracks.
Oh dear. Well, Neil Cotton, believed by local children... sorry. I'll start that all over again. This is a chap called Neil Cotton, and he's beloved by local kids in Howden, East Yorkshire. And he's been told by the council to stop the friendly high-fiving gesture, all in the name of health and safety.
But many parents and motorists are calling it nonsense. No surprises there. So apparently this chap, 57 years old, he spent the last 2 years brightening up the school run in the East Yorkshire town of Howden. There he is, looks like a nice guy, doesn't he? He has a cheerful attitude. He has his signature high fives. The children love it, the parents love it, he loves it. But no, the council says, get on with your job and stop the high fives.
This is the one area of employment where the council's trying to chivvy people on and get them to work harder rather than less hard. But I mean, what have we done in this country where we've sort of abandoned our sense of whimsy? I think adding a sense of whimsy to all jobs, I think, is a fundamental productivity measure, actually. I think if you're enjoying what you're doing, you're going to be doing it better. People are going to go into school or away from school with a smile on their face. What a joyful thing in a town in Yorkshire. I mean, amazing, brilliant. And yet, no, of course, the clipboards have to come out and the dour library monitor style individuals. I bet they're all library monitors at school. They've just got to tell people that they can't have fun.
Yeah, so the children have to be shooed along. They can't be distracted by such frivolities as a high five.
GB News, the People's Channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight, only on GB News. Let's just go back to New York, shall we? Let's go back to New York. OK, so some breaking news for you. A jury has reached a partial verdict on several counts in the Sean Diddy Coombs trial. The judge overseeing the case announced that in the past few minutes. You are looking at the courtroom there, the steps outside the courtroom. It follows a 7-week trial in which 2 of the music mogul's former girlfriends testified that he physically and sexually abused them. The judge said that the jury had informed him toward the end of its second day of deliberations that it had reached a verdict on the 2 counts, each of sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution. That's some of the ones that Coombs faces, but had not been able to reach a verdict on the racketeering conspiracy. So you are live in New York there at the moment. We will bring that verdict to you as soon as we get it. But before that, let me just round off a couple more front pages for tomorrow. Here in Britain, The Independent has gone for rattled Starmer scrapes through. Another devastating one there about the welfare and benefits bill. We go to the Daily Express next, which has gone for now it's, quote, utter capitulation over PM's welfare bill. So they've gone for that. The Guardian, see what the Guardian's take on it is. Welfare bill passes as bruised PM backtracks to avert Labour revolt. I mean, thing is, he would have got this through anyway, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Yes.
Even with the revolt, he would have got it through.
And it would have been a sign to his backbench MPs that they can't mess with him. And you need to have strong leadership in politics. And like you, I think you
need
said,
to have good policy.
What did Boris Johnson call those people once? Great protoplasmic supine vertebrate jellies. Like, yeah. It's that level of cowardliness, and it shows how weak the Prime Minister really is. The man is on the ropes. There's blood in the water. You got Angela Rayner scratching at the doors of Number 10, leaking out different memos to the press about what she'd do. I can't see him leading that party into the next general election if those backbench Labour MPs want to keep their seats.
They're not keeping their seats anyway, but...
Oh, yeah, true.
Well, there we go. So, look, these are the verdicts on the old welfare issue. I've got a couple more front pages for you. I think I've got the Daily Mail. So, interestingly, the Daily Mail have decided not to go on the welfare issue. They've gone on the illegal migrant crisis. They've gone smashing the gangs latest. A year after Starmer became PM and scrapped Rwanda, 879 migrants crossed the Channel on Monday, with 6-month total this year as a record high. No one knows who they are or where they're from, but all will have to be fed, housed and given health care, and most will never leave. Yeah, I mean, and they've chosen to articulate and furnish that story with a boatload of only men on that boat there, which is
most of them.
I'm genuinely surprised. Like, you've seen those camps. Like, why would any women or children want to be there? I don't think it's...
Well, when I was there, there were some women and children there, but it was a vanishingly small number, it must be said. But anyway, The Sun have gone for humiliated PM case to rebels, but again, their big story is not on welfare and benefits. It's with migrant tide hits 20,000, French kit paid for by UK, cops don't stop the boat. They've gone for buggy useless, and a picture of a giant French buggy with police on the back of it, with just a boatload of blokes in the background again there. So we know what's funny. We're paying for everything in that picture.
Yeah. And what's going to happen when this whole thing falls through, which it inevitably will, because they're going to have to scrap this useless deal with France despite promising more. They're just going to keep all that equipment, aren't they?
Jonathan, the millionaires are leaving and we are in their place having a load of Afghan and Sudanese blokes, aren't we?
I don't think it works entirely like that, Patrick.
Go on.
I mean, it's great.
No?
That's a fair trade.
What? Nothing on that?
I don't think it works entirely like that. I don't think they're replacing them. There are plenty of millionaires in this country.
Right.
And, look, houses are at a record value.
No, they're not. They're coming down, actually, house prices.
Well, they're still very, very high. And there's no sign of any kind of... You walk around London, there's no sign that wealth is leaving the city.
And that's exactly the problem. You just said it. You walk around London. Apparently, Britain is actually more than London.
Yeah, I mean, you can get out of London a little bit if you want. Anyway, right, OK, so don't go there. Talking of boats, there's a whole boatload full of news that I'll be sharing with you in just a moment. I've got loads on. I am going to take you live to America as we get the verdict from this Diddy trial. President Trump has also announced alligator Alcatraz, which is going to see illegal migrants housed surrounded by alligators. Why can't we do something like that here? We've got the welfare reforms. We've got what's going on in the channel, but all of tomorrow's weather as well.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. If you're in the southeast, then it is going to be another very warm and humid night ahead, but things are turning fresher. The high pressure that's brought all the settled weather recently and led to some very high temperatures, that's now clearing away towards the east, and in its wake we are seeing some various frontal systems making their way in. So as a result, as we go through the end of today and overnight, quite a bit of cloud across many eastern parts of Scotland and down the eastern side of England. Some outbreaks of rain too, even some rain pushing into the far southeast. Further west, a drier, clearer night, a bit fresher here. Meanwhile, in the east, like I said at the start, still very warm and humid, albeit perhaps not quite as warm as it was last night. Then, as we go through tomorrow, a few showery bursts across parts of the southeast. These are likely to turn a bit heavier, maybe even thundery later. Down the eastern side of the UK, it is going to be a cloudy and at times wet start. Some of the rain could be quite heavy. Meanwhile, all the time across western areas, it's a drier, sunnier picture. That being said, there will be a few showers from the morning across the far west of Scotland, maybe even in the far west of Northern Ireland, and these showers are going to become a bit more widespread across Scotland and Northern Ireland as we go through the day. But there should be some sunny spells in between these showers and away from eastern parts of England and Scotland, where it is still going to be pretty wet. Other parts of England and Wales having a decent amount of sunshine, and although temperatures won't be anywhere near as high as they have been to start the week, it is still going to feel pretty warm in that sunshine. As we go into Thursday, it's a dry picture for much of England and Wales, but cloud and rain with some blustery winds coming in from the northwest, affecting parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. That unsettled weather is going to eventually feed its way southeastwards, but it's going to take until the weekend for many central and southern parts to actually see much of that rain. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Well, on Patrick Christys tonight, late edition, it is a right mixture for you. Sir Keir Starmer is on the ropes. Labour really are economically illiterate, aren't they? That's over the welfare and benefits issue. The Sun and the Mail have both gone off on illegal migrants. Buggy useless. We're paying for the French kit here, and in fact you're paying for everything in that picture because the illegal migrants made it to Britain. I'm going to take you live to America because the jury's reached a verdict in the Diddy trial and Trump is going to house illegal migrants in a centre surrounded by alligators. Stay tuned.
£54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash. So make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just